Hi, it's Sophia, the cycle breaking mom. Welcome to my channel where I talk about all things breaking cycles. So today I want to talk about self-worth. Self-worth. So I struggled with self-worth my whole life, and I just want to talk about what does that even really mean? Because if you ask the average person, most people will say, I love myself, right? Because who wants to admit I don't love myself? Like, most people don't, right? I happen to be a very introspective person, and I kind of had that awareness because I knew that I had an inner critic that would beat up on me. And so I was looking back at some of my old journals from like 10 years ago, and I saw how I wrote that I felt hopeless, I felt helpless, and I felt worthless. And then I actually said, I'm not worth shit. And I was kind of shocked when I saw that because I didn't realize that it was that blatant. But I knew that I did not feel good about myself, and I knew that I did have an inner critic that kind of would go in on me. I just didn't realize that it was to that extent. So I'm happy to say that I don't feel at this point in my life that I'm not worth shit. But as I go on this cycle breaking journey, it's a journey. So I will say that breaking cycles is where you start to transform what's in the bloodline. And I remember my mom said that my grandma, sometimes she would say good stuff about herself. Sometimes she'd stand in the mirror and be like, you're all right, girl. You are all right, right? But sometimes she would stand in the mirror and be like, you're so stupid, right? So, like, to look at yourself in the mirror and call yourself stupid, I mean, how how must how must one's self concept be to tell yourself you're so stupid? And then I know, my mom, she had her own struggles with self-worth. I remember she used to always say, I couldn't give you what I didn't have myself. So, like, if she has a mother that she's hearing calling herself stupid, then it's kind of like, who's going to let her know, who's going to pour into her and let her know, no, you're good enough and you're worthy, right? So it just kind of like trickles down through the generations. And so I happen to have 3 daughters, and they're on this journey with me. They see some of my different struggles, and I make sure I let them know that they are worthy no matter what, because that's what really self-worth is about. Like, my one of my daughters was saying, can you give me some words of encouragement, because she has some perfectionism going on, and can you give me some words of wisdom? Can you tell me I can do hard things? And I grabbed her hand and I said, let me hear from that part of you, the perfectionist part of you, because we all have different parts of ourselves. There's no like Unitarian self. I said, let me hear that part of you that's the perfectionist, and let me hear what she has to say. So she kind of spoke from that part of herself. And then I said, Okay, that makes sense, right? Like I validated that part of herself. And then I said, you know what? Sure, yeah, you can do hard things, for sure. But say if you do make a mistake, say if you don't get it right, then what, right? I said, all parts of you are lovable. So the part of you, the perfectionistic part that wants everything to be perfect or everything's not okay, and in the part of you that um oh, I don't even know where I'm going with that, right? Wait a minute. The perfectionistic part that yeah, that wants her to be a certain way is welcome and lovable. Okay. And then when she isn't perfect and when she is making mistakes and when something does go wrong, that part is worthy and whole and complete as well, right? So that is what it means to have self-worth. Actually, that's what it means to have self-love, is to say, you know what, no matter what, you're worthy, whole, and complete and good enough exactly the way you are, whether you are doing things well or you're not. Okay, that's self-love. Now, self-worth, I would say, is believing that you are worthy of having the best that life has to offer. And that's what I'm kind of up against right now. I had like a situation that happened and that kind of made me realize that there's still some work there in that department, right? And because of, again, what's in my bloodline and coming from people who live limited lives, I inherited that. And there's a part of me that knows, like, no, I deserve to have the best that life has to offer, like to not be able to settle in any area of life, right? But then there's another part of me that picked up limitations and you have to settle, right? And that's good enough, right? And so that's running in my subconscious. So the recent events that came up made me realize, like, whoa, this is running in my subconscious. Okay. So when things come up in your life, you can start to look at, what's the lesson here? What is this offering me, right? And so that was offered to me that, yeah, like, you have these limitations, and a part of you does, at least, that you didn't ask for, that you inherited. So now the journey is for me to release those limitations, because we all are worthy of living a limitless life and being in love with ourselves and life and enjoying the best that life has to offer. And if we are not living like that, most likely we picked up these limitations from our bloodline and we are expressing it out now and living that life and calling it fate, like, oh, this is my life. It doesn't have to be, right? So that's the journey that I'm on. If you want to join me, book a free complimentary I'm ready to break cycles session to see if I can help you on your journey to being a cycle breaker as well. Because for me, I'm a mom and I want to leave a legacy for my daughters. So it ends with us. Bye for now. Stay tuned for the next episode where I talk about all things breaking cycles.